What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bilbrons and Dragons. I'm your host, Bilbron Bafflestone. So today we're having another episode of my deep dive series. Today looking at open rolling versus closed rolling. And I have to say that I am a huge proponent of open rolling. I don't really like closed rolling all of that much, but I have talked to a lot of people before making this video, and I get that there are a lot of defenders of closed rolling out there. And so I wanted to start a discussion. The way I see it, there are basically three main defenses of closed rolling. One, that's how the game is designed. Two, if you don't, the players will metagame. And three, the DM can always fudge things even if you open roll. And so I thought we'd look at all of those. So one, yes, I do admit the game is designed for closed rolling. It says so right in the DMG, and the intent and design of it does seem to be rolling behind a screen of some kind. And I just straight up disagree with that. I feel like that puts way too much trust and power in the hands of the dungeon master, because I expect to have agency. I didn't sign up to hear the DM read me his novel. I signed up to play Dungeons & Dragons, where I expect my player character to have an impact on the story. I feel like I am a collaborator and a co-writer of this story, and even though the DM controls much more of the story than I do want to have agency when it comes to my particular player character. And so for the DM to be undermining my choices or my actions, again, with the intent of creating a better story, that doesn't sit well with me, even if that power is used as intended. And I honestly can't trust that power will be used as intended, because this whole concept falls prey to what I call the central planner's fallacy, which is that these powers will always be used for good, right? There's nothing wrong with Big Brother. Big Brother will always use his powers for good, to make a better storyline, not to kill you, right? To make it more fun for people, right? Not to make it less fun for this guy that the DM doesn't like, right? There's this presumption of angelicness in that approach that I don't think is warranted. That's why we open roll, is to keep everybody fair, to keep it honest. And so even though the game is designed that way, I don't agree with it, and I don't think that that's a sufficient justification to close roll instead of open roll. Then what about metagaming? That's the other argument that DMs put forth as to why they need to close roll. It's because otherwise the players will metagame and figure out way too much about the opponents. They'll figure out what their saves are and what their ACs are and what their to hits are and things like that. And I've never really bought that argument, because to me, if you're an actual player character living a battle, you get so much more sensory information than you do when you're talking about a game where it's a DM and a player verbally exchanging descriptions and trying to visualize in their mind's eye what exactly is happening. And so to me, seeing the dice rolls transmits far less information than you would get from actually seeing a monster take a swing at you, or see a monster shrug off your fireball, or whatever, right? And so all of those things that you can figure out from the dice, I feel like you could totally figure out from actually living through a battle or an encounter. And so any metagaming information that a player gets from the dice, I feel like they would have totally gotten that information from real life if they were really living through it. So that whole argument that the players are going to metagame doesn't hold much water with me. And then third, the DM can always fudge if they don't fudge the dice rolls. They can fudge things that don't have dice rolls, like the amount of health that a creature has, or the amount of spell slots that a creature has, or things like that. And that is true, but I think that a DM's overall approach goes a long way towards the enjoyment of the players. And so if they are the sort of player that wants to do that, I don't think so many people are like these sophisticated villains where they're, playing this 4D chess where they're going to be like, oh, I'm going to open roll so that I can therefore more easily fool the players. I think most players who are inherently trustworthy want to open roll because that's one of the things that makes people trustworthy, is that they always choose the transparent option, right? Anybody who says, oh, you can trust me, but no transparency, that in and of itself is inherently a red flag to any thinking person that this is a liar. This is a manipulator. So, all I can say to the objection that, well, if you're a master manipulator, you could choose to open roll, and that would therefore allow you to fudge other things with more, believability. I will say, okay, that might be true, but it does in fact limit them on those dice rolls to not being able to fudge them. So I will take that, and hopefully it will make the job of fooling me and removing my agency a little bit more difficult for the DM. And just in general, I feel like most people, if they embrace open rolling, that goes a long way towards me. That doesn't ruin my trust, right? Especially if it's, again, like a Westmarch server or something. So those are the reasons that I think open rolling is still way better. I don't think that the arguments in favor of closed rolling are all that strong or lead to a better game. I think all they do really is enable the DM to exercise his worst demons and to remove my agency. And I don't like that. So regardless, let me know what you think in the comments below. I understand that this is a fairly controversial perspective and a ton of people like closed rolling. I think you're wrong, but please tell me why you think you are right in the comments below. I'm very curious to hear why. Regardless, thank you so much for watching. This has been Bill Bronze and Dragons. I'm your host, Bill Brown Bafflestone. See you next time.